Hello, and welcome to the Bad Pipes Podcast.
Welcome back to the Bad Pipes Podcast. Today we have I'm Andrew.
My name is John Rico.
He means Scott, but we also have another pal of the show, a returning guest, actually.
Muad'Dib.
This is Isaac. We talked Star Wars before many years ago.
Hello. It was about 8 months, but who's counting?
Oh, nice.
That's a whole baby. That's a whole lifetime ago.
Yeah. Damn, we've been doing the podcast for a minute, huh?
Yeah. I think our last episode would have been like almost a year to the day today.
Damn, that's wild.
It would have been more than a year. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
What's the lost episode? I'm intrigued.
Nolan, Scott, and I recorded an episode where we doom mongered about AI for like 2 hours, and then
Oh damn!
I know I got pretty drunk. I can't remember if they did, but it was wild.
We were all drinking a little scotch.
Nice, good
We were all
times.
drinking a healthy amount of scotch, one might say.
Oh, I'm having a beer right now.
All right, I actually want to start this episode off with a bit of a hot take here. All right,
Okay.
you guys ready?
Uh-oh.
I'm ready.
I hate when you're watching a show, right? And it's like a food show, okay? And they're like, oh, we went to this restaurant in this place. And then they're like, world-renowned chef, Jacques Lestrap or something like that. And they're like, Jacques, what have you made for us today? And he's like, I have cooked a tulipe and he's French, of course. So he's like, they only know how to cook one way. And they're like, I have cooked a tulipe in cream and butter. And if you taste it, it will remind you of the fondest memories of your grandmother. And then they're like, oh, really? And then they have a bite of whatever this food is. And they're like, oh my God, Jacques, this is beautiful. And they start crying and they're like, it tastes like my grandmother's in the room. I hate when shows do that. I hate when people are...
What were you watching recently that this happened? Really curious.
I don't know.
What?
I think it might have been a fever dream. Have I stunned you both?
It's so specific. It's so specific.
It makes me
I
think
hate
of
French people. Okay, I don't know what to
there's
tell
an
you.
anime. There's an anime called Food Wars, and it makes me think of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so over the top.
Was that the Adult Swim one?
Yeah, it basically every time they like bite into food, it shows like censored pictures of them like basically in like orgasming.
In the
They're
throes
like-
of passions.
Yeah, in the throes of passions over this food that they're eating. So Andrew talking about this really made me think of that. How over the top it is.
All right, now to transition. Okay, my dog's name is Ash. If you don't like her, that makes you Ashist, right? But I would probably be more angry about it. So I would say like you're fucking Ashist, but that's too aggressive. So I would have to like slightly acronymize it. So I think if you don't like my dog, you're just Ashist.
I hate you.
And that's how we're going to transition to talking about Starship Troopers.
Oh hell yeah!
My goodness.
All right, so recently, and by recently I mean like a month ago, because we've all been sick or traveling or financial woes have been slapping us in the face. About a month ago, Helldivers 2 came out, and it's kind of taken the internet by storm. People are fucking loving managed democracy. I love managed democracy. And to remind you all, the only good bug is a dead bug, all right? Now, hand in hand with this game, Helldivers 2, which is a game where you're basically an armored up Marine in space who drops onto a planet and then just starts killing foes. The satire in the game kicked up a 20-year-old discussion almost on Starship Troopers and whether or not it is fascist or a satire of fascism, or it goes full circle on the circle of irony and circles right back from being a satire of fascism back into actually being fascist. So this is kind of the background for this little conversation here.
Yeah.
All right, I gassed myself. I ran out of words. Did I meet the word count, teacher?
You're
barely.
Yes. C+. Yeah. All right, so
Yeah. Go ahead.
first things first. Can either one of you define fascism for me?
Fascism is like a summer's day. I don't know.
I would say
it's like.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as far as it's like authoritarianism. It's just like an overbearing kind of ideology. Usually this is like around a central ruler, a dictator, someone like that.
I would add that it's almost always ultra nationalist and usually has some sort of religious component.
Fair, yeah. Yeah, the nationalism part is definitely big.
So this is how Wikipedia defines it.
Uh-oh.
Fascism is a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalistic political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, subordination of individual interests for the perceived good of the nation or race, and strong regimentation of society and the economy. Is
Solid.
that not the most ridiculous definition of like any word you've ever read? Like it stops making sense like 5 words in.
I mean, I love Starship Troopers. I absolutely adore that movie, and I believe that it is full blown like knowing that it's satire. Just based on like, there's levels to the sense of humor. They didn't even take it. Paul Verhoeven didn't even take it seriously when he directed it. I mean, they shot the crew was naked during the co-ed shower scene on a dare. Casper Van Dien dared them, the director and the DP and the crew, to all be naked in the shower scene, and they were like, fuck it, and they all got naked.
That's funny. I always heard that they wouldn't do the scene unless the writer and director were also naked for that scene.
Yeah, Casper Van Dien said that. He was like, don't make them get naked unless you're going to get naked, and then they all got naked.
And that was also the scene that they would shoot whenever they couldn't film like outside. They would do that for their like backup plan for shooting stuff.
I'm not sure if you guys have done like a deep dive on this at all, like the behind the scenes of. I'm sure you have Starship Troopers, but one of my favorite little tidbits is this was Neil Patrick Harris, like kind of semi grown up, and they called him Doogie Himmler when he was in military uniform because he played Doogie Howser.
That's right.
That made me laugh so hard.
Wild.
He does look like a Nazi.
I have not done a deep dive. This was my first time ever watching it.
What?
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? Isaac, how old were you the first time you watched this?
Probably 15.
That's crazy.
14, 15.
That's wild.
Long time ago.
I was like 9.
Yep.
Tops.
Well, checks out.
Probably younger than that. I will say this. The older I've gotten, the more I hate Carmen.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just
yeah.
like... I think when you're young, you're like, oh yeah, she's so pretty, and they're together, and you're kind of like, oh, get out of here, Diz. But then the older you get, you're like, what a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Also, what's her name that plays Diz? I think this is the second movie we've watched on the podcast with her in it. First one being, do you remember?
I don't.
Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh,
Good
shit,
one.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
She plays the I think
Johnny
she's a
Mnemonic.
razor girl or something in that.
All right, here I pulled something up for you. This confirms the suspicions that we all have about Starship Troopers. It says director Paul Verhoeven admits to having never finished the novel, claiming he read the first few chapters, became bored and depressed, calling it a right-wing book. He then told his screenwriter to tell him the rest of the story. They decided that while both the novel and its author strongly supported a regime led by a military elite, that they would flip the concept around and satirize it, making it a hyperbole of contemporary American politics and culture.
You know what's
Die
wild
Hard-
is that that's such a wrong reading of the book. Like, you can argue all day that the book is fascist, but the dude, Heinlein was the most libertarian guy who has ever lived.
Let me finish. Die-hard Heinlein fans declare that the filmmakers have completely misinterpreted his intentions. They say he was a die-hard libertarian who opposed conscription and militarism. He depicted the oligarchy by ex-military citizenry government in the book because it was an example of something that has never been done in real life. He was not advocating it, but was merely speculating that such a system could exist without collapsing.
Exactly. And you could definitely argue that it's pro-military, and I would argue that the book is pro-military, but it also expresses the necessity of military strength, because when people like Hitler or Mussolini or these dictatorial people throughout history pop up, it's not asking them to stop that makes them stop. It's someone getting as many men willing to fight and die for their families and their rights, the privileges of life, basically. It's men like that fight and die, and it's only through that bloodshed that freedom is won, right? There's even every single chapter of the book is headed with a quote, and a lot of them, I was kind of surprised. A lot of the early ones are biblical, but then very quickly it gets to Thomas Paine and Jefferson and some founding fathers. All very good quotes too. Very good.
Things like work together to protect your future. Freedom doesn't come free. Together for managed democracy.
Get some. So I tried to, because I think we talked about this yesterday, I tried to read the whole book again before this. I got 2/3 of the way through it and was yeah, saying this is fascist is it's just not correct, because the only thing you can argue is that being pro-military is perhaps a far-right ideology or an aspect of that, but nothing else on there. There's no oppression of beliefs. There's no forced conscription or anything like that. And actually, another pretty good argument about it is that right before he published this book, he put out a short story, because all these guys wrote short stories, where he expressed that pacifism is honestly the more noble path in war and whatnot. I believe the story was called Space Cadet. I haven't read it. I've only touched a synopsis of it, but Heinlein was a really interesting guy.
Yeah, I think the fascism, the word fascism, gets thrown around a lot with stuff like that, especially nowadays. But it is funny to me that I don't know, the whole foot soldiers of a fascist empire thing is a video. It's a video game thing now, right? Obviously it's 40K lore, but Dark Tide, Helldivers, the Helldiver series, people enjoy that because of the insanity of it, but also it's a fun concept to play out. But there's never been anything remotely close to it. Maybe Rome, maybe in the Death Throes, or some of the Greek city-states. But that's about as close as we've ever like. There's never been like this massive scale of like a fascist empire that is just conquering all and destroying like none of that's real, but it's super fun
because every time it starts, men who value honor, duty, and their families and recognize that there's people that can't fight against it take up arms
and go fight,
and they throw down the dictators, right? I mean, you look at 300. What was the Persian king?
Xerxes.
So like Xerxes was rolling through Greece, and what happened? 300 Spartans held him off in a fucking alleyway, basically, long enough for the Greek army to assemble and then go fuck his shit up for real.
Yeah, but I mean,
had like estimates, put his army in the day for like 100,000 to 500,000 men. Cartoonishly, sometimes even 1 million, but like those numbers for that point in time are insanely huge. Like that's an insanely huge army. And
there's a lot of that like fetishization of it too, even in like the movie 300, like the Zack Snyder one. There is a bit of like the fetishization of like the hyper masculine fascist state, like the military state, like we're bred for this, this is what we're made for, which that's in a lot of these games and fiction, but it's a fun world to like it be entertained in for a little bit, but nobody in the right mind would want to live in that world. It's insane, but it's so much fun. Like I love the lore.
Even in the book, first off, a really interesting distinction between the movie and the book is that it's Johnny Rico, right? And it's played by Casper Van Dien, and he's very clearly white, even though his last name's Rico. His family's white. In the book, his name is Juan Rico, and people just call him Johnny. And his father's name is Emilio. Carmen, her full name is like Carmencita. And from what I gather, I think he's like the only Latino guy in the regiment. But like when he first goes off to camp, to basic, there's like 2 German guys. There's like a dude from Georgia. There's another interesting distinction. The Latino guy in the movie, his name is like Junjito or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something that's definitely Japanese, and you're like, oh, that's kind of weird. He is Japanese in the book, and he's actually like the son of like this highly esteemed general, actually.
Shujimi, that's his name.
Shujimi, that's right. I was thinking of Junji Ito or
what's his name? Shujimi is his name. One of my favorite things about that movie, Casper Van Dien's great, but one of my favorite things about that movie is Clancy Brown and Michael Ironside just fully committing to the premise.
Oh, yeah.
Like they are all in. I adore Michael Ironside.
I mean,
I grew up watching Walker Texas Ranger, and he played the main villain on a couple seasons of that, and man, killed it.
Like, have you ever seen Clancy Brown though in a role where he isn't like one of the most charismatic guys in the whole thing?
Always. He's so good. I love him.
Yeah.
Every time he shows up, I'm like...
Yeah, no. What?
What happened?
Anyway. Nothing. I'm so eager to talk that I know I keep cutting you off, and I'm trying not to.
You're fine. Have either one of you seen Starship Troopers 3?
I've seen every Starship Troopers movie they've ever made. You know what's insane? Ed fucking Neumeyer, right? That's his name that writes the scripts for all these things.
Mm-hmm.
How does they come out so bad every time?
Well, I liked 3 because Rico's back, but
he's like the only redeeming quality of that movie.
He is. The rest of it's hot garbage.
Yeah.
It is really bad.
The second one is totally unwatchable.
Yeah, I've never even seen the second one.
The first animation is not good at all, but then the Traitor of Mars, I think it is actually, it's okay, but I would never say that it's good. I would be like, if you really, really, really like Starship Troopers and you're willing to put up with a kind of boring movie, you might think that this is okay. But they do actually add some stuff from the book. So there's actually like the power armor aspects in that
cool.
Traitor of Mars movie. Yeah, that's another thing. Starship Troopers, the book, is the origin of like powered space, fucking Space Marine type armor, right? So like 40K, Halo, all these franchises that have like dude and power armor. All of that traces its roots right back to Starship Troopers.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But I don't know. Let's take it back to the movie. Scott.
Yeah.
What aspects of Starship Troopers like really stuck out to you, I guess? Was there anything that really bothered you about it? That's a good question.
No, I absolutely loved this movie. I thought it was great. I don't agree that it's fascist. I think people confuse militarism because militarism is a part of fascism. I think people confuse any sort of militaristic ideals with something being fascist. So I loved it. I watched it this morning, actually. Great movie. What I like most about it, I felt like it really translated over a sense of the brotherhood of fellow soldiers, and kind of how I think also just like the way the hierarchy works, the foot soldiers feeling like they're basically just talked down upon. They're just there to serve the purpose of the higher ups, yet somehow through it all, you know, they have each other's backs.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I would definitely agree with you on that aspect of, yeah, it is militaristic, but I don't think that it is an adequate or even effective satire of fascism.
I agree.
Precisely because all of the attempts at that come off as like the clumsier parts of the movie, right? So when Doogie Himmler walks in, you're like, well, that's pretty blunt.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know. What's another like overtly fascist kind of slap in the face that they do?
I mean, that was like the big one. I mean, potentially just because like it seemed, as far as we know, from what we can tell, the people calling the shots are just like the fleet commander. Like, it's kind of like this, instead of like having a president or like
the Sky Marshal,
Prime Minister, it's you just have the Sky Marshal. Like, they're the ones calling the shots. So it is like essentially a civilization run by the military. But I mean, at the same time, I don't know. Like, you have this like idea of like citizen versus civilian, and it seems pretty clear that they're just like, hey, like, yeah, if you go serve, like, you get to become a citizen. But like, it seemed like John's parents weren't they just civilians?
Yeah.
And it seemed like they were doing really damn well for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it didn't seem like it was this matter of like, hey, you need to go serve in the military for like an actual like better life. I mean, I guess in some ways with like hey, you have to like apply to have a child and like to vote and stuff like that, but I
also think an inherently like usually fascist quality is like when he gets demoted and like beaten.
Oh, yeah.
Usually like
corporal punishment.
Corporal punishment in the military in that way, like physical beating tends to be fascist quality.
Yeah.
One of the funniest parts about that scene is that they're like, did you give him permission to take his helmet off? But whenever he gets shot through the fucking eye.
Yeah, for real.
Like, it didn't matter if he had his helmet on or off. That's also a very interesting difference between the book and the movie. Because Rico does do something stupid and take a flogging for it. But in the book, the first guy that you see get flogged, he actually, while out doing like drills, they had to do a freeze drill, right? Which is like the guy calls freeze, and you drop on the ground and you don't move. You cannot move. It's a freeze, right? Say like an enemy patrol is walking by or something like that. That's kind of the point of it. But this dude Hendrix dropped into an ant pile. He got up. Zim like kicks him in the ass, and he's like, "I said freeze, you jackass," or something like that. And the dude gets up, swings on Zim, lands the blow. And basically tells on himself to the like camp commandant, who is then like, "All right, court martial." Like, and the dude doesn't understand like whatsoever, because he like wasn't paying attention and doesn't understand that there's like these, I think there's like 31 capital offenses, right? Which are like hanging offenses. And it's one of the things that kind of convinces Rico to be like, you know what, I don't think this place is for me. I'm gonna leave. But yeah, the dude, rather than being hanged, gets 10 lashes and is like disgracefully kicked out, right? Rico gets his flogging because while doing power armor exercises, he does something really fucking careless. He didn't make sure that in the like simulated firing of a small atomic weapon that no one was in range of it, and for actions that in the field would have caused the death of a team member, he's sentenced to like 5 lashes. And I mean, honestly, you kind of feel like he deserves it at that point.
I also love that he quits in the movie, and then they're like, Buenos Aires is gone. And he's like, fuck it, I'm going back in, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
I
good.
mean, yeah, at that point he has nothing to go back to.
Well, what's funny
Right.
about that in the book is that Buenos Aires gets wiped off the face of the planet, and he's like, "Oh, that sucks," but I'm not from there, so whatever. And then his aunt writes him and is like, your mother was killed there or whatever," and he doesn't find out for like months. He just thinks that like, oh, my parents must have been in Buenos Aires together because my dad would never let her travel alone. His dad is actually alive and runs into him later on and is like, I requested to be sent to the Roughnecks because I knew you were part. And Rico at that point is like leaving the ship as his dad is like going to get on the ship. And his dad's like, my boy. And they only get to talk for like about 40 minutes before Rico goes off to officer training and his dad joins the Roughnecks. And it's like this reconnecting of the two, because they do have a falling out like they do in the movie, because his dad is a civilian. He's like a highly successful businessman, kind of like in the movie. But the relationship gets like mended, right? And they kind of bond over like the shared trauma of Johnny's mom's death. And also like his dad also being like, you know what? I set up a trust for you for in case you ever go back home, and I joined because I just felt like it was the right thing to do.
Can I ask a meta question about this movie?
Sure.
Based on the ending, do you think it's possible that this entire movie is a propaganda film?
I think within Paul Verhoeven's mind it is.
No. I mean, in the Starship Troopers universe, is Starship Troopers, the movie that we're watching, played as a propaganda film?
Like, lights come on, audience is clapping. It takes place in the universe of Starship Troopers.
Universe of Starship Troopers, yes. That's how I feel at that ending. When I watch the ending, I'm like, oh, in the Starship Troopers universe, this movie is a propaganda film.
Well,
Honestly, yeah, that'd be great.
I think what they're going for, like, that's obviously what, like, the film is going for. That's why they play the little commercials throughout it, right? For
Right.
join up, you know, do your part, all that stuff. I mean, I do think that that's what they were going for, to some degree, right?
Yeah.
I think what that actually does is it actually builds the world out in a more interesting way. Like, they
It
do a
does
lot
to
of
me,
world
yeah.
building there.
Yeah.
I also think this is like more, I don't know, like, it's a real flip of the coin, and it's typically not in the film's favor for, like, putting news articles or, like, show segments or whatever, like, in the movie to, like, show you what things are happening or what's going on or whatever. It works in this because of that idea of it being like, oh, is this perhaps a propaganda film within the world of the movie? I think that a big argument against that would be at the end of the movie, whenever the Roughnecks get reinforced and they're like, who are all these kids, you know?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't show that, like, oh yeah, a bunch of kids show up and that's how you know they're losing the war. So yeah, if that was the intention of the movie, I think they could have done it better. If it wasn't the intention of the movie, then, I mean, honestly, that's kind of, it's just one of those movies. It's like, it's really mixed, right? Because on the one hand, it's a really fun war movie with this, like, if you're really looking for it, satire of fascism.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just watch it, brain empty, eyes open, and you're like, this is fun. Dude jumped up on top of a big beetle, shot a hole in it, stuffed a grenade in its back, flies off in the sand, and watches it explode from behind the corpse of another big bug.
Well, I feel like too, Johnny Rico goes from kind of like not bumbling, like he's not an idiot, but he does go from, like, you know, he's just chasing his girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie, to, like, by the time he's, like, put in charge by Doogie Himmler to be, like, the leader of the Roughnecks, by the time he gets to that point, it's like, this guy fucks. Like,
Yeah.
this guy's a badass. And at that point too, like, he's already like, when he mercy kills Michael Ironside, when he just, like, after he gets all fucked up and he just has to take him out, you're like, this guy is like a grizzled veteran now.
I can't feel my legs.
A different movie.
Oh yeah, you're right. There's blackface in that one.
Casper Van Dien would have been a fantastic choice for Forrest Gump. I'm not gonna lie. I'd watch that movie.
Oh, I was thinking of Tropic Thunder.
That one too.
It's a movie in a movie.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny because that is Rico's story arc in the book, right? Is he goes from this, like, bumbling sort of, like, oh, I don't really know what I want to do with my life, kind of just teenage kid, and he gets, like, he goes through basic, and that gives him the tools to, like, become a man, basically, and then he goes through war, and it's fucking horrifying, and he comes out of it, honestly, like, having seen some shit, but also being better for it. Like, he recognizes the importance of, like, what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, you get the stuff in the movie about, like, oh, the invasion of Planet P was a big fuck up, and it's pretty much the exact same in the book. Like, it's a big fuck up. A big distinction, right, between the bugs in the movie and the bugs in the book, though, is that the bugs in the movie are, like, almost inept compared to the bugs in the book. Bugs in the book have spaceships. They have laser beam weapons that apparently can cut through the power suits that the mobile infantry use, like a knife through a hard-boiled egg, apparently. the bugs are a fucking menace, like truly horrifying. There's another little section where they talk about these things called neo dogs, right? Where there's like canine units where it'll be like a scout and a neo dog, and when they invaded Clendathu, half of the neo dogs that came into contact with bugs for the first time were so scared of them that they activated their like self-detonation shit. So like the bugs in the book are not fucking around. They are a very serious menace. And again, spaceships, weaponry, they're bad. The argument that you see a lot of the time for the Starship Troopers movie is like, oh, you mean to tell me these bugs who poop plasma into the sky shot an asteroid light years across the galaxy to hit Buenos Aires? And you're like, yeah, it is kind of foolish in the universe of like the Starship Troopers movie, you know? But yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like small things like that where I'm like, I see what you were going for, I think. Or you just legitimately didn't think about it. And the part that makes me think they legitimately didn't think about it is that all of the other Starship Trooper movies are still written by the same guy that wrote this one, and they are all very bad.
Damn.
Yeah.
And I do think that it was Paul Verhoeven, to his credit, that like added in the taking the romance story that is kind of in the book and making that more of like a high school romance kind of thing that he grows out of and then is like kind of forced back into at the end of the movie, if you want to read it that way. Whereas like in the book, Carmen shows up at officer school where Rico's there and is like, can I take Sergeant Rico or Mr. Rico? You lose your rank while you're in officer school, I guess. Out on a date with me. And he's like given this unprecedented like 3-hour pass to go out on a date with Carmen. And she kisses him at the end of the date. What's up with that? Also, another interesting thing, Dizzy in the book is a dude.
Hey.
Whoa, hard turn.
And spoiler alert, he dies in the first chapter.
Well, then, if they did that in the movie, then he would have nobody. He wouldn't be able to swerve from Denise Richards to Dizzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is like the movie takes like names and characters, and sometimes they're like Zim. Zim's a really solid dude in the book and in the movie. Great portrayal. But then like, I don't know, man. Like the movie is so like, it's like very whitewashed compared to the book. Because you're always meeting people like different cultures and races and from all over the globe, basically. And I feel like the movie is, you got white people and then you kill off like most of your minorities. And then you just have like, what's his name at the end of the movie that like holds the tunnel? Is it Wilson or something? I don't know.
Winston,
Winslow, Wallace, Willoughby, Walter.
The dude who detonates the nuke?
Yeah, he like holds the tunnel and then like detonates the nuke, and Carmen and Rico and Ace all get out.
Watkins? I think it's Watkins.
Watkins.
Yeah, Watkins. It's Watkins.
Yeah.
He does that. Blows himself up.
Yeah,
They're doing a reboot or a remake of Starship Troopers that's more heavily based on the book than the Verhoeven movie.
That's wild. Did they have a director associated with it?
There's a writer working on it right now, and Casper Van Dien's executive producing it. He's
Oh,
being like
shit.
consulted. Yeah.
That's fucking.
So yeah, he wants to do it. Casper Van Dien wants it to be a mini series. He doesn't want it to be a movie. So I think that's what they're working on right now. Is the structure of the plot. See if
I mean, that would
they can
definitely be
stretch
better.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I like
'Cause-
if they did it like, even if they just, I mean, the thing is like Forward Unto Dawn wasn't that bad, but like that kind of had it obviously was way more serious, but that had that like jingoistic military thing going for it as well.
Yeah.
Obviously heavily influenced by Starship Troopers, but I feel like if they actually put budget and time in, they could make it awesome. And now's the time to do it. I mean, with the popularity of the Starship Troopers popularity because of Helldivers is at an all-time high.
Yeah, This is something I think about a lot in the context of the like potentially upcoming 40K series, right? Is the worst thing you could possibly do is make it about Space Marines.
Right.
It needs to be about like Imperial Guard, and it needs to be like a Band of Brothers style show.
You just want it to be Gaunt's Ghosts.
I do want it to be Gaunt's Ghosts. And I don't know, man, because the other side is like, oh, well, we don't do that, and instead we go with like an Inquisitor story about like an Inquisitor hunting down like a rogue agent or trying to fucking fuck up a cult or something in a hive world, and that would also be bad. I just think it would be.
They're doing they're doing 2 animated series and a live action series. In the animated series, I believe they've already announced one of them is going to be the Horus Heresy, which makes sense. Like, just keep it animated to make it awesome. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, diehard fans will watch animation, but the big budget stuff, the live action stuff, I think that you're way better off going for something like Gaunt's Ghosts.
Yeah, even if they just like, yeah, they just need to. I don't know. There's so many. I trust that because Henry Cavill is such a diehard fan, that it'll be good because he's not just starring in things; he's also producing all of it. He's in charge. His production company owns the rights. He's the one who bought the rights and brought it to Amazon in the first place. So, I think it'll be good. I don't think he'd let it be shit.
Another consternation I have is just like the kind of the spooky little boogeyman in Hollywood and gaming right now is like the DEI practices. And I mean, there was just like this week big controversy about, did you see about that company Sweet Baby Incorporated?
I saw something briefly, but I didn't look into it.
So, Sweet Baby Inc. is a narrative development and consultation studio. Basically, they've been associated with like a bunch of games that just have like terrible fucking writing. To the point where like there is now a Steam, what do they call it, like community, or you know how you can see like individual reviewer kind of stuff on Steam for games?
Yeah.
There used to be one called, or there probably still is, De Novo Detected, right? So if you didn't want De Novo on your computer, you could just like avoid this whole list of games. So this guy, kind of in the spirit of that, made Sweet Baby Inc. and Detected, right? And he just put like a list of every game that they had consulted on, and just going through the list, it's like games that were like AAA titles that came out and people were like, what the fuck happened with this? The writing is dog shit. And it's not just this one company, it is like a broader issue, right? Like Helldivers 2 never would have gotten made with consultation and narrative development from a company like Sweet Baby Inc. or any of these other ones.
So I'm reading an article now. Apparently, what you're saying is with the bad faith argument that this is what they do, because apparently this is not what they do. So whoever this author for Kotaku did, so
Bro,
they're saying,
you can't trust Kotaku, dude. They're shills.
well, I trust someone who went in and interviewed the employees and and the people there and what they do, rather than just someone spitting out a bad faith argument saying like, oh, I think this is what they do. Like, do they have actual proof that this is what they've been doing?
Oh, are you asking me that?
Yeah. Like, because apparently, like, someone just decided that this is what this specific company's been doing, created a detection software, and then rallied people around it to do this. And apparently, the same thing happened back in 2023, where someone tried to create the same outrage. They had to say like, "Hey, this is not what we do. This is what we do." So, yeah, apparently back in October 2023, there was a Kiwi Farms post that was trying to make the exact same allegations.
Oh my god.
Well, I'm about to show my cards heavily here. Just watch the Asmongold video on it.
That's one of the ones I watched.
Yeah, because it's like it's people taking screenshots from Sweet Baby Inc.'s website and specific things that they've said.
They've also pulled a bunch of the quotes from people off of that work for them and like still work for them off of like Twitter and whatnot, and they make a lot of very racist comments.
Yeah, it's not great. Well, I mean, for example, there's a lot of really bad writing in general happening right now without their help. Sure. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was going to be a garbage game the second it was announced. I thought the trailer looked like dog shit when it first was announced. It's also a live service game, which usually is bad. The ones that are not are very rare.
Hell too.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's funny though, because bad writing in video games is nothing new. Like, I am playing through the original Devil May Cry games because I never played them, and the collection was on sale, and I beat Devil May Cry 1 the other day. But like, the writing in that game is dog shit. It's so bad. I have no idea what the fuck is going on half the time.
The only one I've ever played was like, I think 3 when it first came out, and I was like, what the fuck I have no clue what's going on, and this game doesn't like tell you anything.
Dude,
but
same with the first one.
I also only played a little bit of it, so.
Same with the first one. I beat the first one and I was like, that was really fucking hard, but also I have no idea what the fuck is even happening, and I'm watching every cutscene and I still don't know what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of games are just about the gameplay. If you look at Helldivers and you're like, what's the quality of the writing here? You'd be like, well, it serves the audience. I guess it's good, but like, you're not going to sit there and be like, oh yes, this is a masterclass on writing for video games. You know, you're going to be like, you got characters just yelling quotes, and the fucking tips on the loading screens are like, hey, did you know that there are tips on the loading screen?
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like, it's just a very self-aware game, whereas like, I think a lot of game writing, again, I don't play a bunch of AAA stuff. I play like niche, random, weird shit that usually you can skip the lore to enjoy the game. Honestly, I can't even remember the last time I played a game for the story.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I'll play. There's little indies that I'll play for the story. There's some that are Sifu. The story in Sifu was pretty good, but that's not about the story either. That's about the gameplay. But that was pretty good.
Well, Sky, you like the God of War games, right? Don't they have pretty good?
Oh yeah.
I love God of War. God of War is like, I think the God of War 2018 is probably my all-time favorite game.
Yeah, it won Game of the Year that year, didn't it?
Yeah.
My top tier story in game of all time is the first time I ever played BioShock Infinite.
Yeah.
That was my top tier moment.
Oh shit! I just remembered Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate was a very good story.
Baldur's Gate 3 was
Yeah.
not. It was I mean, it was all right. It was all over the place, but it was pretty good.
Do you mean the story where you the story like where you figure out the thing in your brain, or are you talking about the story with the bear?
Oh no, the story where you plow down on the goth elf.
Druid man.
Sorry,
Oh,
both of the goth
yeah.
elves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We did a whole segment on the bestiality within Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Getting riled up about it before it came out.
Did you talk about the fact that once the game came out, that the Mind Flayer tries to have sex with you?
I love that too. Hey, game of the year. Game of the year, baby.
I hate that, dude. Purge the Xenos. If aliens wanted to live, they should have been born in the image of God.
God. That sounds like a Helldivers 2 quote.
That's 40k memes.
Yeah.
Is it? Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's like all they care about is ridding the world of anyone not built in the Emperor's image.
Well, it's just like,
So-
I get recommended Instagram reels all the time, and it's like, oh, Colorado guy says that aliens have been contacting him for 6 months, and then it'll be like me and the boys going to Colorado preparing to get rid of all of the aliens who aren't made in the image of God. And it's like Space Marines marching next to like the tanks and artillery and all that stuff. And they ain't wrong though, you know. I'm gonna fight an alien if it shows up.
So how has Helldivers 2 been?
Fucking awesome, dude.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Apparently they're getting mechs soon.
Yeah, I think there's something about
Today, or whenever you guys conquer this newest planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. And you know what sucks about it is the fucking planet fucking sucks.
Damn.
You got fucking automatons everywhere shooting their damn rockets and guns at you. And if you're a bug boy, right? If you're a guy who's like, I've only been fighting bugs for the past month, and then you go to try to fight automatons, it's an entirely different war. They're speaking Tekkenese out in the fields, man. They're in the jungle, whispering in tech language at you. You don't know where the fuck they are. I wasn't at the battle at the creek, but I'll tell you what.
Lost his mind.
I had to kill 450 of them fuckers on a little island. And I couldn't do it. They fucking started dropping tanks in on us, man. Tanks and goddamn 40k dreadnoughts, but there ain't no space marine made in the image of God on the inside. It's just a soulless automaton attached to machine guns and rockets with full-on fucking tank armor, brother.
You're saying I should buy Helldivers 2.
It's good, yeah. I'd play like actually our friend Lex. He was trying to get me to add him on there, and it wasn't working. I think my name was too long on Steam, and there's some sort of weird bug with that for adding people cross-platform.
Is he on PS5?
Yeah, he's on PlayStation.
Lame. Who has a PlayStation 5?
Here's a question. Hard Swerve.
Hard Swerve.
Hard Swerve. So, as of right now, it's not a hard swerve. As of right now, if I were to say want to purchase a way to play Helldivers 2, PS5 is like what, $400? What is the cost of a working gaming PC nowadays that would be able to run something like that effectively?
I have no clue, dude. I don't even look at the numbers because money just makes me sad. Yeah.
thing.
I mean, the thing is, right, is that a PC will last you longer than any console, and you can get something to like play stuff nowadays at a good level, and all you'll have to do for like the next 10 years or so is just trade out 1 or 2 components, or if something goes bad or something like that. Whereas if you buy this generation of PlayStation, then 3 years from now they're going to be putting out a new one. And
yeah, it's usually like, I think it's usually like 7 or 8 years per the life cycle of the console, and what the PlayStation came out in like 2017, 2018. So like we're already hitting that mark.
Right.
Yeah. So
okay.
As opposed to like maybe just needing to sell off your graphics card and buy a new graphics card if you have like a good rig already.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
So I would say PC, more expensive up front, but cheaper in the long run. Consoles, cheaper up front, but more expensive in the long run.
Got it. Okay. I think I'm going to end up getting a PC instead of another console in the near future. Because, I mean, for example, I have an Xbox, but I can get Game Pass on the PC and play all the exact same games and more games
Gregory
that I can't play on the
Kelly,
console.
get the fuck off Magic.
what?
Get off of Magic. You
I'm
open it.
I'm downloading.
Discord told on you.
I'm uploading, or I'm downloading the update.
So here's my
updating-
segue. Here's my segue to piss both of you Magic fans off. How likely is Wizards of the Coast going to make a Dune Magic run?
Oh, 100%. They'll hit it. They'll hit it.
They're gonna hit it so hard they have to.
They're
If you
what?
told
They've
me
got fucking Fallout coming out
If you
here in
told
a
me
minute.
that they made a secret lair drop for Dune shit 5 years ago, I'd be like, damn, that's crazy. But I would believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's just a certainty.
Here's a question. If I was a worm, would you guys still love me?
Yes.
If I was the God Emperor,
I would put you
Dune,
in the
would
pool
you
and
still
milk
love
you.
me?
Nice. Solid.
All I could think of it is like the meme where like someone posts something and they're just like, people are just like, oh, does it hurt the whatever? Does it hurt the? I'm just like, does it hurt the worm?
It kills the worm.
Oh yeah, I figured.
It kills the worm. Yeah.
I figured. Yeah, she was straight up drowning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are extremely sensitive to water.
Yeah.
Yeah, checks out.
Like to the point where in like the larval stage of the sandworm, they actually go and they collect moisture and they push it to like deep underground.
Huh.
And they essentially like create a barrier between this like these underground aquifers so that the worms can just fuck around up top and live happily.
I think it's God Emperor of Dune, which is like thousands of years in the future, and Arrakis is like a paradise with water and hills and all of the beautiful things. There's still an artificial desert for the last remaining worm that they like keep there. I will not spoil anything about the last remaining worm because that is a massive spoiler.
Oh shit.
But yeah, it is. They're never gonna make that movie. It's never gonna happen. It's as soon as you get towards the end of Children of Dune, it gets real fucking weird, and then
true.
it gets even harder to film. So
Yeah.
I think the thing with this movie, with both movies, Dune Part 1 and Part 2, the thing for me that I like the most about it is that all of the changes that were made in the adaptation for the movie make the movie better. And they do not negatively affect, for me, the story of the novel at all.
All right. Andrew, do you feel the same way?
For the most part.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was a great movie.
I mean,
Yeah, it's
Dune
super
is one
fun.
of the series that people have pretty regular been like, this is unfilmable, because after like the second book, things just start getting really fucking weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I think people are saying this is Denny's like magnum opus.
It's funny though
The
because
big one.
so many people love these movies for different reasons, and also hate these movies for different reasons. But the entire world is going to unify in the depression that is the next one, because it is so brutal. Dune
Yeah.
Messiah is such
What's
a
kind of
drag.
nice is the Dune Messiah. You can definitely just make one movie out of it.
Yeah, it's a sad boy. Oh, it's a sad boy story. Real sad.
Sad boy
sad
story.
day.
Is our boy sad because he lost? He fumbled the bag on Zendaya there.
No, that is a massive change from the book, although a better
Uh,
change than the book.
I disagree.
It is
Fumbled
a
the
much better
bag
change.
hard.
Yeah, she comes around.
I mean, she has to.
She has to. But the sad boy Dune Messiah thing is that 12 years have passed since Dune, and 60 billion people have died.
Damn.
The
That checked out.
jihad.
I mean, we got the holy
has
war going on
commenced.
now.
They should
Yeah.
have been born in the image of God.
It's kind of like Star Wars with the Clone Wars though, where like it's like the movie ends and you're like Clone Wars are starting, and then the next movie starts and it's like Clone Wars are wrapping up. And it's like, well, what happened there? And then they made a whole animated series to fill in the gaps. In Dune, it's like the end of Dune's like
Well, hold on.
jihad beginning.
The way
Dune
you phrased
Messiah is
that
like-
made it sound like the animated series came after. The animated series did fill in the gaps, all right? And then the movie came out. And then they
No,
made
it-
another animated series to try
It
and
did.
fill in the
It
gaps.
did. But in the movies that George wrote, it's like Clone Wars begins and then the next movie starts and Clone Wars are wrapping up. You don't really get the Clone Wars in the movies. And I'm saying in the Dune
True.
book,
True.
it's like jihad commence in the movies, jihad commence, and then next book, 12 years have passed, jihad has officially popped off. And
True.
so what I'm hoping is that in Dune Messiah, as we start the movie, we get a little bit of a glimpse of the jihad commencing, because you don't see that at all in the book. They talk about it, but it's not like, I mean, the jihad in
Well,
the
I know,
Holy War.
you know how
Where?
the movie's going to open up. It's going to be some quote, and it's going to be like,
Yeah.
And then the Warner Brothers logo will come across the
and
screen.
then the Warner Brothers
The-
logo
the
come across the
Sardaukar-
screen,
the
and then you'll
Sardaukar
watch
war.
like a fucking war scene, and then the movie
Yeah.
will start.
Because
Dude.
so my day consisted of I woke up while I was working. I watched Starship Troopers,
Nice.
and then while I was wrapping up work, I watched Dune Part 1, and then I immediately left and went to watch Dune Part 2, and then I immediately came home and recorded with you guys.
I will
That's
say
a great
this.
day.
I don't
Great day.
think a scene in part 2 hit me quite as hard as the fucking Sardaukar scene in the first movie, because that scene goes hard as fuck. You got
When they
like
go to the
techno
home
priest up
planet?
top being like,
Yeah.
and then they're fucking painting themselves with blood.
Yeah.
That scene's hard as fuck, dude.
It is. Dude, alright,
Yeah.
the first 15 minutes of Dune Part 2 are like their own little mini film, though. When the Harkonnen dropship comes in and is trying to find them, and they're like running
yeah.
away, and you've got the sniper scene. When it does that shot from behind the Harkonnen soldier as he's coming over the top of the hill to look down right where Lady Jessica and Paul were sitting, and it's behind him, I was like, is this dude wearing Krogan armor from fucking Mass Effect? Like, it had like that massive top, like Krogan headpiece looking thing from behind. I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is this armor? And then as soon as they have the silent jetpacks, I was like, okay, yeah, let's fucking go. Silent jetpacks, that's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
And then later they bring it back when Josh Brolin comes out of the spice harvester and like floats down. I was like, that's just the silent jetpack is the coolest thing ever. They're slow, but they're silent.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
the way
it's
that
the
they
same
shot.
technology that the Baron is using.
Right. I love the way that they shot Getty Prime in infrared. I thought that looked sick.
Yeah.
the fireworks just being like ink blot explosions was so cool. Austin Butler crushed it as just being a fucking psycho. That was fun. Yeah, it was a blast. I think too. I loved the heel turn, the switch of Paul post Water of Life when he like wakes up and looks at Jessica. And she's like, fuck, he knows.
Chalamet fucking killed that.
Dude, when they go south and he like reaches
He's
to the
wearing the red robes and all that. Yeah.
To the fundamentalists. And okay, that end scene when they're attacking the Emperor's ship and the Sardaukar go down the ramp outside, and then like 10 seconds later, Paul and the Fremen just walk up the ramp. You're like, yeah, like fuck yeah, let's go. It was so good. Yeah. And when he tells the Reverend Mother, be quiet, when he's like, and he uses the voice, I was like, yeah, fuck that old bitch.
That's an interesting change there, because she doesn't call Paul Abomination. She calls his sister Abomination, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the book.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about her just being in the womb for this movie?
So that was an interesting change. I think it was a good change though, because when she's born, it's impossible. This is one of those unfilmable things. It's impossible to film a 4. Was it 4 or 5? I don't remember how old she is when Dune ends.
She's like 2 years old, but she ages very rapidly, and it's implied that she's using like the Bene Gesserit stuff to grow up quicker.
I don't know how you film a fully sentient 2-year-old, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like my son is 2. There's no way in hell that he could even stand still for a minute, let alone like look like he's pondering the thoughts of the entire universe.
I mean, it's definitely lent itself to the like Jessica talking to the baby in her. And
that was great. Yeah.
That all went into that like weird, like, oh, what? This is all getting kind of weird now. What's going on? Feeling of the movie.
Also, just like showing Anya Taylor-Joy is like in 12 years, that's how fast the baby will progress.
Yeah.
Like so, by the time Messiah comes along, Anya Taylor-Joy will be, her. I also liked that they chose not to have the whole Chani and Paul's baby in there, and the death of the baby thing. I like that they got rid of that. Because that just adds another layer of like choosing to make Chani the foil to Paul. Made it more interesting to me in the film, because I kept asking myself, how are they going to do this? Like, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this? And as soon as she started being like, pushing back against him, like becoming the Lisan al-Ghaib, I was like, okay, it's going to be her.
See, I felt like it was kind of frustrating because like the depth of their relationship is what gives it shattering weight, right? Mm-hmm. So for them not to have that shared trauma of like, oh, our child was murdered by their Harkonnens,
right? What was the Emperor? Wasn't it House Carino that murdered the baby in the book?
I don't know, dude. It's been 10,000 years since I read that book.
I think it was House Carino.
I'm in chapter House Dune now.
I
have been for like 8 years.
All but Leto the Second.
I got to the part where witches were coming from unknown regions of space and controlling men with sex, and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, it gets wild. It's real wild. Although I am excited about the Bene Gesserit show that they already filmed that's coming out later this year.
Did Villeneuve direct any of that, or did he just produce it?
I know he produced it. I don't think he might have directed the pilot, but I don't think he directed any of it. I have to check.
That's what worries me, because he's a very one-of-a-kind kind of director, and
he is. Yeah.
It worries me for him to take the reins off, or take his hands off the reins.
What's the show
Much like it
called?
worries me for Paul to take the reins off of the Empire.
It's called Dune Prophecy. That's the name of the show. and it takes place a long time before Dune. Post Butlerian
Butlerian
but-
Jihad.
Butlerian Jihad, but pre.
Do you guys
so-
know what the Butlerian Jihad was?
Oh yeah, it was the destruction of all machines or computers and AI.
All thinking
because-
machines, yeah.
Yeah, all thinking machines. Yeah, that's why there's no computers in Dune.
Yeah.
So this is my hope for Dune Prophecy. The Emperor is played by Mark Strong, who I absolutely love.
Cool.
He plays
like it.
Emperor Javico Carino, and the lead is played by Travis Fimmel, who I also love.
Okay.
Travis Fimmel's great.
That's good because you can't find fucking Raised by Wolves anywhere on the internet anymore. So
I know, it sucks. And the series is based on Sisterhood of Dune. And
is that
how
one of his son wrote?
yeah, it's one of the Dune
books?
Legends books. There's so
Okay.
HBO I believe they purchased the rights to like 3 or 4 of the Dune Legends books that are specifically focused on I think there's one which is Sisterhood of Dune pre and a few post like extra stuff that happens after. I want them to make a pre. I already wrote out a whole treatment for it. A trilogy that follows the first 2 films would be Butlerian Jihad and Establishment of the Empire, and the third film would be the Empire pursuing the Zensuni.
They already made that movie. It's called Terminator 2.
Yeah, right. The third movie would be them pursuing the Zensuni Wanderers to Arrakis, and then Zensuni Wanderers end up becoming the Fremen, and that's where they discover spice. But that would be awesome. But yeah, the Ben and Gesserit show I think will be very good. I'm like pretty happy with what I've heard about it. The showrunner for the show up to production, so all of the prep and the writing, the overseeing of all the scripts and everything up to when they started shooting was John Spates, who wrote the script for Dune Part 2. And so I don't know. I'm hopeful for it. It's only 6 episodes, which is
It
great.
is HBO, so
Yeah,
usually they handle things well.
yeah. I'm hopeful. But Dune, like Denis Villeneuve in an interview recently, they were like, "Are you gonna do Dune Messiah?" And he's like, "The script's already almost done. Like, that's in my mind, that's my next film, and then
the
I'm
way
done."
this movie left off was like they have to.
Yeah, I mean they don't really, but yeah.
No, no one has to. No one has to make a sequel, but like you kind of have to. The way they left it off.
Yeah, and I think if Dune Messiah will like the way that they like that final 2 shots of Dune Part 2, I believe he's going to mirror almost exactly with a different character. You know what I'm talking about in the end of Dune Messiah. With like Shawnee going off into the desert.
Somebody got to go off into the desert at the end of the movie.
I know every movie. I really don't like the original Blade Runner movie. Not a big fan across the board.
Theatrical release or final cut?
I've only seen the not final cut, not theatrical release. I think I've only seen the director's cut.
Final cut's pretty good.
Blade Runner 2049 was like that movie was awesome.
I mean,
I
it's
love
good, but
Blade
it's
Runner
not Blade
2049.
Runner final cut.
It is way better than Blade Runner.
You're
The original
wrong.
Blade.
You're just wrong.
I will watch Dune Part 1 and Part 2 more in my life than I will read the books again.
Well, I mean, it's just easier.
Well, no, I just enjoy his version of things because it's visual medium that I
That's what
prefer.
I'm saying.
Yeah. I loved Dune Part 2. What do you guys feel, Hard Swerve? How do you feel about the Fallout show?
They're making a Fallout show.
Yeah,
You haven't seen
Amazon
the trailer?
Prime.
Isn't Amazon making it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking good luck, buddy.
Do you know who the showrunners, directors, and writers are?
No.
Jonathan Nolan and his wife. Jonathan Nolan from Westworld.
Huh.
Didn't he fuck it up hard after the first season of that?
Yeah, pretty bad. He gets really in his head, just like Christopher Nolan, his brother.
Uh,
Yeah. The only saving grace to the Fallout show is that Walton Goggins is playing a ghoul sheriff, and that checks out. I like that a lot. But it doesn't, like, every time I watch the trailer, I'm like, could be great, could be trash.
yeah, I got no dog in that race. I stopped liking Fallout a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really been a big part of it. I also don't know how I feel about the show.
However, I will say this. It's not Amazon, of course, it was Peacock, but Twisted Metal, I was kind of mixed. It surprised me a lot
It
how
was
much
pretty-
I enjoyed that show.
It was pretty entertaining. It was very entertaining.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was very entertaining.
Yeah. I was
As long
also surprised.
as the show is just going for being entertaining, I think they'll do fine. But I think that Amazon and the writers at Amazon right now are a bunch of ding-dongs, and that's why I've got no faith in it. And that's, again, why I don't have a ton of faith in the 40K stuff, because I think that someone at Amazon is going to stick their grubby little fucking fingers in the pot, and they're going to fuck it up. They're going to fuck up the soup.
Here's a question
See.
for both of you Magic heads. I have a fuck ton of Magic cards. Like a
Why?
lot. Because I collected them over the years. I have a ton of them.
What, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what?
What?
What's going on? What's the yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
you end up with a lot over the years.
Yeah, I got a
Shelby
ton.
gets mad at me for how many I have.
I was like, I've got like, I don't know, a couple 100,000 probably.
I don't have that many. I have enough that, like, I just had so many lands that I just put them in a box separate from the rest of my cards because I couldn't keep. Like, I have too many lands.
Yeah, that
Um,
tends to happen.
But I recently was like, well, I've missed like quite a chunk here of releases over the past, I don't know, 6 or 7 years.
Oh.
Is there a release over the past 6 or 7 years that it's like if you want to like still compete and make a deck that you like, there's certain cards you should have or things that like what's a release that I should pay attention to?
The Phyrexian shit is all fucking
Kamigawa.
broken. Kamigawa? You think Kamigawa?
Oh, dude, the amount of staples in that, just the land cycle in Kamigawa, having Boseiju, Ganjo, or like Odawara, like just the really the green, white, and blue land from the land cycle there are staples in. I mean, anything. People play them a ton in modern Commander, and I'm pretty sure it's still standard legal, right?
Kamigawa is still standard, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
when
guess
the
they.
Phyrexian stuff phases out, but dude, the Phyrexian
Yeah.
shit that is in standard right now is like fucking game breaking. It's like, oh, here's a green Phyrexian.
Yeah.
Double the power and toughness of your creatures every combat. Are you kidding me? That's fucking broken.
Yeah, I was like, I guess like Kamigawa was not as relevant since Fable of the Mirror Breaker got banned, because like that one was like breaking the game, and whatever the black card was that they ended up banning. Kamigawa was just so broken at the time for standard when it released that like they had to do damage control and ban like 2 or 3 of the cards out of the entire like from standard. But
Yeah,
I'm looking
are
at
you
a
like looking at
Phyrexia.
playing standard or something like that?
huh?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, you're gonna play standard.
I want to like get back into it again, like playing it again, and I haven't played in years, so I'm like,
That's like
I want to get.
It feels like all anyone ever plays anymore is fucking Commander.
Yeah, that's
Everyone I know, they're like, "Oh, Commander," and I'm like, "I don't want to, man."
Yeah, same.
I'm looking at a Phyrexia booster box right now. That's a lot of cards. My wife's gonna be mad at me.
Yeah, I would honestly say maybe just look at like. I mean, it's hard, right? Because without seeing the full set and like going through all the cards and be like,
Right.
oh yeah, oh you could do this interesting thing or that interesting thing. It's a little difficult. Uh,
Yeah.
but like just building a specific deck is always going to be way more cost effective than that, unless you're looking at building some like top tier competitional thing that's
I'm
got like
not.
several $20 cards in it.
Yeah, I just want something that can compete, or at least be fun. I not. It doesn't even need to compete. Something that can be fun for me to play. I just want it to be fun to play. That's all.
I mean, honestly, in
Mm-mm-mm.
that case, I'd say maybe just fuck around on like Magic Arena for a bit and
Yeah.
see what catches your heartstrings. Because you're gonna, I mean, if you're playing standard on Magic Arena, you're gonna see the shit that's broken, and you're gonna see like the common tropes for decks right now. Um, I can't say that I particularly enjoy playing standard because a lot of times you get these guys that are just running like brutal, cruel decks that are like, oh, I've got Phyrexian Obliterator and I'm gonna make you fight it, and now you have to sacrifice like a certain number of permanents, or like the fucking green Phyrexian or the white one, which is like permanents entering the battlefield that have an effect that triggers when entering the battlefield or whatever. Like triggers twice for you, and your opponents don't trigger at all. So like, I don't know. There's just like a lot of broken shit.
I am downloading Magic Arena
Nice.
as we
I can
speak.
beat you up in it if you want.
Well, I don't want to be beat up. I want to get back. I want to like. There's tons. The thing with Magic is there's like new rules in like.
Oh, that's another thing. This most recent set, Murders at Karlov Mansion or whatever it is like a murder mystery kind of shit taking place on Ravnica, and I hate it. I hate this whole set. It makes me so angry.
What did you think of the Lord of the Rings set?
Stupid.
I knew
Boo.
you were gonna say that. Boo. What about that Baldur's Gate 3 set? Did they have a sex with a druid card?
Those are just like alternate arts, weren't they?
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah, I
think
think
so.
it was. I think it was just like a single layer drop.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen anyone with those on Arena. I've seen people have like the player icons for it, but like I've never seen people using cards for it.
Yeah, I just want to like get. I want to like wrap my head around the new rules and mechanics.
Yeah, there's a lot of goofy ones, so.
Yeah.
Is that it? We
I
did
think
Dune,
that's
we did
it.
Starship Troopers. Are we done?
I've got nothing else.
Is it over?
Is it over? All right, so next week I think we were gonna finally get to Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah.
Nice, that's a good one.
Have
Yeah, that
you
was a fun
have you seen Saltburn?
No,
Yes.
but I've also heard it's a worse version of the talented Mr. Ripley.
It is a
Oh.
dog shit version of the talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh,
I've
no.
never seen the Talented Mr. Ripley.
Talented Mr. Ripley is a masterpiece, and Saltburn is fucking trash.
I've heard it's the it's the Tumblr stepchild of the talented Mr. Ripley.
That is a
Huh.
fantastic way to describe it. If you want to watch Barry Keoghan having sex with a corpse, or sorry, a dirt mound, that is the movie to watch, hands down. Hands down.
How do we feel about him as an actor? Barry Keoghan.
I like that he got arrested a few times for being drunk and disorderly because, you know, Irish.
Yeah. That's as Patty Irishman as he get, isn't it?
But yeah, he's an interesting actor. I don't know how I feel about him, honestly. I don't feel like he was really good in a movie called Killing of a Sacred Deer. Came out a few years ago with him and Colin
It's the same
Farrell.
director as Banshees, isn't it?
No, that's Yorgos Lanthimos directed Killing of a Sacred Deer. He's the guy who did The Lobster and The Favorite and Poor Things.
Okay.
Martin McDonough did Banshees of Inisherin. He's the guy who did In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Okay, that's what I got mixed up in Bruges.
Yeah. But Barry Keoghan's really good in that movie. But since then, I don't think I've really seen him like act except for Banshees of Inisherin. He's really good as the village idiot in that movie. But besides that, like, he played the Joker in the Batman, and supposedly the second Batman movie that Matt Reeves is doing, he's going to be way bigger in it, but I don't know.
You didn't like him in, oh fuck, what was it? Not the Marvels. Fuck, what was it?
The Eternals.
The Eternals?
No, I did not.
Dude? Why? It was a masterpiece. It was an absolute class on filmmaking.
It had lots of pretty sunset shots every 5 minutes.
I liked all the cartoon people they had to fight.
Oh man, now is the time to end it. I think we lost everybody about 10 minutes ago when I started asking about magic.
As soon as we started talking about magic, yeah. All right, so if you listen to this far, you're a fucking champ. As always, the music was by Carl Casey at Whitebat Audio. If you wanted to email us a film recommendation or a film mal recommendation, you can do that at the fucking email address, which I know
Cryptidworks.
Cryptidworks@gmail.com.
Cryptidworks@gmail.com.
Cryptidworks@gmail.com. We also have a Patreon if you're unhinged enough to want to financially support us trying to find a physical copy of Raised by Wolves. You can do that. You can do that at the Patreon, which is, I think, patreon.com/badpipespodcast. And if you want to fucking yell at Scott for his outlandishly racist takes on sandworms, you can do that at on X/Twitter.
At Bad Pipes Pod.
Yeah. Is that everything? Is that all our social shit?
Yeah.
If you want to kiss us, you're not allowed. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.